If you're like me, when I was diagnosed with MS, my neurologist used language I couldn't totally understand and then referred me to another doctor to see in 4 months. And that was it. I'm a nurse, and I still went home terrified. So here's everything they didn't have time to tell, well, you. What MS is actually doing to your brain, why you feel the way you feel, and what you can do about it starting today. Stay with me. Let's start with the most important thing to understand about multiple sclerosis. And I'm going to use an analogy that actually makes this click. So think of your nerves like electrical wires running through your entire body, which ultimately it is. And that myelin sheath, which is what's getting attacked, is the coating around those wires. The purpose of myelin is to help those signals travel fast and clean throughout your system. In MS, your immune system, which is supposed to protect you, well, it actually attacks that rubber coating instead, and it downright just strips it away. This is called demyelination. And when that insulation is damaged, of course, then the signals either slow down, they get scrambled, or they don't get through at all. And because of this, you might feel some tingling in your hands, some sudden weakness in your legs, or it could also be why your vision went blurry out of nowhere. Your brain ultimately sent a message, and the signal just didn't make it there cleanly. Make no mistake though, your body is not broken. The communication system is just being disrupted. Here's something really important that explains why MS feels so unpredictable. Multiple sclerosis isn't just damage. It involves an active inflammation. Your immune system attacks, it causes a flare of inflammation, and then for a while, it'll back off. And this is why you can feel absolutely terrible for 2 or 3 weeks, and then wake up one morning feeling almost like yourself again. You're not imagining the bad days, and you are not imagining the good days. That fluctuation is the disease, and that is relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis doing exactly what it does. And this is also why people around you sometimes don't understand. On a good day, you look completely fine, but the damage from previous attacks, well, it doesn't fully disappear. It accumulates, which is why MS is treated aggressively even when you feel okay. So let's talk about lesions, because this word probably showed up in your MRI report and may have likely terrified the hell out of you. Lesions are simply areas of scarring where myelin was damaged. They're not tumors, they are not death sentences. They're scars. They're evidence of past inflammation, and their location in your brain determines what symptoms you experience. Now, and this is the part I really want you to understand, and I have mentioned this in other videos. That said, some of the most common lesion locations directly affect your emotions, your mood, your cognition, and your mental health. This isn't just psychological, it's neurological. So here's what's happening symptom by symptom. First, you got your fatigue. This is not regular tired. This is your brain working 3 times as hard to reroute signals around damaged areas. And that's real neurological exhaustion. It's not in your head. Then there's brain fog. MS can affect processing speed, memory, and word finding. So when you lose a mid-word sentence, that is not you getting dumber or really older. That is inflammation near your cognitive centers. There is a difference. Okay, now this one is critical, and most people are never told this. Depression and anxiety in MS are not just emotional reactions to a scary diagnosis. They can be direct neurological symptoms caused by where your lesions are and by the inflammation process itself. That completely changes how we need to treat them. Then there's emotional lability. Some people with MS cry suddenly or laugh, and they can't stop it. There is a clinical name for this, pseudobulbar effect. It's neurological. It's not you being dramatic. And then finally, there's that good old heat sensitivity that we also know as Uthoff's phenomenon. Heat temporarily slows already damaged nerve signals. A hot shower, a super hot day, or a super intense workout, and suddenly you feel like you cannot walk. It passes. It is real though. It is MS. Okay, I want to kind of just pump the brakes here a little bit and name something that I think is really important. A lot of people with MS, especially newly diagnosed, spend enormous amounts of energy wondering if what they're experiencing is really MS or if they're just anxious. They may want to know if the fatigue is real or if they're just being lazy, if the emotional crashes are the disease or if they're not handling things well and just being dramatic. So let me say this as clearly as I can, both as a nurse and as someone with MS. When your nervous system is under attack, of course your whole system is on high alert. When your brain is working overtime to reroute signals around damaged tissue, of course you're exhausted. I mean, this makes complete biological sense. Unfortunately though, understanding the why doesn't make the symptoms disappear, but it can change your relationship to them, as, well, it did for me. Okay guys, this one means so much to me, so let's talk about depression. Not as a side effect of a hard diagnosis, but ultimately as a core feature of the disease. There are lots of studies out there that show people with MS have significantly higher rates of depression than, well, the general population, and even higher than people with other serious chronic illnesses. And yes, even more so than people with maybe even terminal illnesses, which you would think. That said though, for a long time, doctors assumed this was purely because MS is hard to live with, and well, that is partly true. However, the science of it is the inflammatory processes in MS directly affect those neurotransmitter systems. The same inflammation attacking your myelin can also disrupt the serotonin and dopamine pathways. Those are those feeling good chemicals in your body. So lesions in certain brain regions interrupt how those chemicals get to the appropriate places and can produce depressive symptoms that have nothing to do with how you're actually coping emotionally. So what this means practically, if you are depressed like even long after your MS diagnosis, you are not failing at coping. You may very well be experiencing a symptom of your neurological disease and one that deserves medical treatment, not just willpower. It is more common than not for most MS patients ultimately to be on some sort of antidepressant, myself included. But please tell your neurologist if you're feeling depressed. Depression is a legitimate MS symptom and belongs in your appointment, not just kept for a separate therapist. It also dramatically affects your ability to manage everything else, your medications, your self-care, and your relationships. Then, there's anxiety. Anxiety in MS is the one nobody warned me about. And I think it's because it's so easy to explain away. Of course you're anxious. You have MS. But I want to name what's actually happening. So first, there's the biological piece. MS directly affects the autonomic nervous system, the system that controls your fight or flight response. Lesions in certain areas can essentially put your nervous system on a permanent low-level alert. You may feel anxious without a clear reason, and that ultimately is neurology. Second, there's the hypervigilance piece. After a diagnosis, many people develop an intense awareness of every bodily sensation, every twitch, every moment of blurred vision, every episode of fatigue. Your brain has learned that symptoms can be serious, so it flags everything as potentially serious. This is a completely rational response to an unpredictable disease. It also becomes exhausting and consuming. Third, there's the anticipatory anxiety, the fear of progression, the fear of the next relapse, the fear of what you might lose. This kind of anxiety lives in the future and can steal enormous amounts of present-day life. And this is a message for my 2 a.m. crowd again. If you're watching this in the middle of the night because you can't stop Googling your symptoms and just ultimately spiraling, I am here for you. I just want you to know that. That 3, 2, 1 a.m. panic is one of the most common experiences newly diagnosed people describe. It also has a name. Health anxiety spiral. And the fact that you're doing it doesn't mean you're falling apart. It means you're scared and your brain is trying to prepare for threats. We're gonna talk about what to do with that. All right, so nobody told me I would grieve my diagnosis. I thought grief was for death, but I did grieve. And you will if you haven't yet. That's okay. It's normal. You're likely grieving the version of your future that you imagined before the diagnosis. The career plans, the physical capabilities, the sense of a body that you could trust. It's that vision that you were someone who didn't have a chronic illness. It could never happen to me. This grief is real and it is valid. It does not follow a neat linear path, just like grief, just in general. You can feel like you've accepted your diagnosis completely and then get hit by a wave of it 3 months later, freaking out because you cancel your plans from fatigue. The clinical term for this is chronic sorrow, and it's well documented in people with chronic illness. It's not depression. It's not a failure to cope. It's a normal, recurring response to ongoing loss. The losses aren't just a one-time thing at your diagnosis. They can show up again each time the disease limits something new. But this is what I want you to know. You are completely allowed to grieve. You are allowed to be angry and frustrated. You're allowed to have days where MS is all you can think about and days where you refuse to think about it at all. It's all valid. This is the one that ultimately blindsided me the most. I was a nurse. My identity was built around caring for others and being competent and strong and being the one who knew what to do. And then suddenly, I was on the other side as a patient. MS can disrupt your sense of who you are, especially if your identity was tied to maybe a physical capability, professional performance, being the caregiver in your family, or in general, just being the person who shows up reliably for everybody. And with MS, some people pull away from social roles they can really no longer fill in the same way. Some lose their sense of purpose when work becomes difficult. Some struggle with the identity of being that person with MS and not really wanting the disease to define them, but not knowing how to separate from it. Well, yet. This is real psychological work. It is not weakness, and it is not permanent. Identity can be rebuilt, sometimes into something more honest and more deeply than what it was before. Okay, brief mention here. I'll do a full video on this, I'd love to, but MS doesn't just happen to you. It happens to relationships too. It's like marriage. Partners, friends, family members, they often don't know how to respond. Some pull away, some might overcompensate, and some minimize. You may experience guilt, guilt about needing help, guilt about not being who you used to be for the people who love you. And I want to name that guilt specifically. It is one of the most heaviest and unspoken parts of living with chronic illness, and it deserves its own conversation. Okay, I've named a lot of hard things. Let's talk about what you can actually do, and I mean practically. Today, not reduce your stress and think positive. Okay, I've mentioned this before, but at your next appointment, ask your neurologist, where are my lesions and what functions can they affect? This single question can turn a list of confusing symptoms into a map that makes sense. When I found out I had lesions near areas that may affect cognitive processing, my brain fog stopped feeling like personal failure and just getting older and started feeling more like a neurological fact. Okay, I've stated this before, but don't save your depression, anxiety, all of those emotional changes, don't save them for just your therapist. Also, let your neurologist know, because this can affect your treatment. It can be a sign of disease activity, and it is treatable, sometimes medically, sometimes through therapy, and maybe even through both. Think of it this way. If you would take a medication for a lesion on your spine, for MS, which you do, you can take a medication for a lesion affecting your mood. Well, it is the same disease process. So not all therapists are equipped to work with chronic illness. You want someone who understands the grief process, the identity disruption, and the ongoing nature of the loss. Do some super research or ask a therapist explicitly, do you have experience with chronic illness or medical trauma? It's a reasonable question, and it's definitely one that matters. Modalities that have strong evidence for MS-related mental health include cognitive behavioral therapy, specifically for chronic illness, and acceptance and commitment therapy, which focuses on building a meaningful life alongside ongoing difficulty, rather than trying to eliminate the difficulty first. And then, during deep sleep, your brain activates a system that essentially clears waste and flushes all the byproducts from your system, especially the inflammatory type ones. So for people with MS, poor sleep amplifies every symptom: cognitive fog, fatigue, mood instability, pain sensitivity. And I'm not talking about your standard 8 hours. This is specific for us type people. It's about consistent quality sleep, as much as you need, same bedtime, dark room, cool temperature, no screens for 30 minutes before bed, and knowing your brain is working harder than the average person's. Give it the recovery time it needs. Okay, in this one, I struggle with this too. I know you're exhausted, you're scared, and now someone is telling you to exercise. I completely understand this. But here is what research shows. Exercise is neuroprotective in MS. It promotes neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and reroute around the damaged areas. It reduces inflammatory markers. It is also one of the most powerful things you can do for your brain, your mood, and your overall disease. And I've said this before, okay, don't start powerlifting or training for an ultramarathon. I am talking about just even a 10-minute walk, maybe some water exercise, light swimming, chair yoga, or stretching. It's whatever your body can do on this particular day. Consistent, gentle movement beats occasional intense effort every time. And everyone will tell you to reduce stress. You tell them to reduce stress. Here is the truth. You cannot eliminate stress with a chronic illness. Stress is a part of life, everyone's life. What you can do is build a nervous system that handles it without going into full crisis mode. To break it down, it looks like this. So identify your top 2 or 3 stress resources right now and ask yourself which one you can actually kind of change. And this will look like building a short daily anchoring routine, and that's something that tells your nervous system it's safe. And little things like this could be something, 5 minutes of slow breathing, a short walk, a moment of stillness before bed. Nothing serious, just small little changes. And you probably may have already considered this, but keep in mind, chronic stress in MS is not just uncomfortable, well, it triggers your inflammation. Managing your stress response is a medical intervention, it's not a luxury. Isolation is one of the most dangerous things for mental health in chronic illness. And multiple sclerosis can feel isolating, even when you're surrounded by people, because the people don't understand what's going on within you. So you need to find someone who does understand you. And that could be with an MS support group, an online community, a certain YouTube channel, community, I don't know who that might be, or just one other person with MS you can be completely honest with. The research on social support in chronic illness is overwhelming. Connection is not optional, it is medicine. Okay, so I want to end with something I wish someone had said to me in the earliest days of my diagnosis. What MS is doing to your brain is real. The fatigue is real, the brain fog is real, the fear and panic is real, the grief is real. It's all real. And those days when you can't explain to the people who love you why you're not okay, those are real too. None of this means that you're not strong enough, and none of it means that you're failing at having MS. You are doing something genuinely hard, and you're doing it. None of this is happening in isolation. Your brain, your mood, your nervous system, your relationships, your sense of self, it's all connected. And keep in mind, treating MS, well as you're supposed to, that means treating everything, not just those lesions that you see on the MRI. And if you're watching this feeling completely flipped out and in a panic, after maybe even a fresh diagnosis, I see you. I have been there, and it does not always feel this overwhelming. It will get better, I promise. So, if this video helped you, even just a little, please subscribe. I make videos specifically for where you are right now, especially the newly diagnosed population, the overwhelmed, the trying to understand what is happening and what to do next people. But for everyone and anyone, I want to ask you something in the comments here, and please feel free to respond. What is the one thing nobody explained to you about MS after your diagnosis? Physical, emotional, practical, anything. Just go ahead and tell me below. Your answer could be the next video I make. And if you know someone who was just diagnosed, please share this video with them. You might be exactly what they needed today. Thank you for watching. Stick around and check out some of my other videos, and I will see you in the next one.